Hello everyone, we are going to look at stress testing for banks, and this is a retake of my earlier video. So in this small video I'm going to talk about the stress testing mechanism for bank, how it came into being, and a little about how uh, the supervisory requirements which came after the Great Recession, and more or less how to use the guidelines and test for various scenarios. Before I move ahead and delve into the details, I'll talk about what uh, we are going to look here. So the stress testing mechanism looks at a lot of things, although major focus would be on the qualitative aspects and not on the quantitative aspects. But I'll try to just stretch a little bit and talk a little bit about the quant techniques. So as the name suggests, we are looking to stress test the banks and find out what would happen if a particular scenario happens, and that scenario will have effects on the market risk, credit risk, and different kind of uh, other balance sheet items for the bank. But how do we use exactly the quant here is something that I'm going to start with, and then we are going to move to the syllabus of the FRM Part 2 exam. So if we look at the market risk, we have got interest rate risk, foreign exchange risk, and equity market risk. And if you observe each of them, and if you generate uh, uh, a stochastic path for each one of them, then you use different models to find out where they would go. So one way is to find out a historical scenario and test it with that, like what happened in recession, or what happened during 9/11, or what happened during 98 crisis, or what happened during those oil crisis of the 70s. That's one way to look at that. The other way to look at that is to find out the interest rate path and find out what could happen in the future, and draw a Monte Carlo simulation to find out what actually could happen in the future, and use those kind of things. So when we talk about the scenario, we need to build up all those scenarios that could happen, and most of the time these scenarios are also given by the Federal Reserve or the banking regulation. And when we look and we move into the future, we need to build these scenarios and find out what would happen to the bank. So if you look at the macro stress and the scenarios that involves something happening with the macro parameters, that includes unemployment, that includes house prices dropping. Now there is something that's important here, and we need to understand how all these things link up. So the first thing is GDP. GDP is used to define how the economy is going broadly. The unemployment and the consumer price index defines the inflation and the consumer demand. So if there is unemployment in the market, then you expect it would have an effect on the market as a whole. The prices of equity would come down uh, to stimulate the economy. Maybe the government would reduce the interest rate and things like that. Then the other big part here is the residential property, because we have a lot of MBS floating into the market. So if you look at the MBA markets, it's equivalent to the corporate debt market, lying somewhere between 13 to 16 trillion US dollar. So any effect in that is also going to have a great dimension uh, attached to our test. So residential property is again something that we are looking for, and again these effects would be seen in the equity prices, in the commodity prices, in the credit rating, in the interest rate, in the foreign exchange rate. So these are all parameters that we are going to look at in the stress test. Now one of our major challenge becomes here is to uh, find out what would happen in terms of how would each of these things drag the other thing around. So it might be possible that we are given a scenario where, say, we just talk about the unemployment and the GDP, and from that we have to calculate how would the equity market react to those kind of things, and where would the equity market go, where would the debt market go, where would the commodity prices go, where would the interest rate go, and based on that how our risk is going to look. So all of these things are interdependent, and that's where we have to look at those quant methods. Now, if we look at the risk neutral pricing, and if we look at the general modeling of these parameters, then equity follow more of a GBM model, jump diffusion model, AR1 model, or ABC model, autoregressive, different kind of models. That's how we would use the equity models if we are using those stochastic models. If we are using that for the interest rate, the idea is to use something that reverts to its mean at some speed. So in that case, we can use mean reverting models like Hull-White and the other LIBOR market model. Stochastic volatility is again reverting to its mean. So if we look at the volatility in the past, it spikes up but it comes down. So the interest rate and the stochastic volatility, both of them revert to their mean. So the kind of models that we use actually talks about that.